Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. It is Overreaction Monday. We will scour the internet and see what folks had to say about the Seahawks' dreadful 26-20 overtime loss to the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday. We will see what the folks said, and I'll share my thoughts coming up in just a matter of moments. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Before we go any further in today's show, though, got a question that I want to survey the 12s out there. Sound off in the comment section. Let us know who is the most to blame for the Seahawks' loss to the LA Rams. A lot of finger pointing, justifiably so, if I might add. Weigh in, let us know, and we'll get going here on Seahawks Today. Let's start with the quarterback, Geno Smith. It was a rough outing for Geno Smith yesterday with 3 interceptions, including some costly mistakes in the red zone, which really set this Seahawks team back. And not only did you give away 3 points, essentially, to the LA Rams, but also you missed out on opportunities to capitalize yourself, to add on to the scorebook for Seattle offensively. It was a two-edged sword, right, of the mistakes that Geno Smith made in this game with the 3 interceptions. And now the question becomes, is Geno on the hot seat? Could we see a quarterback change? And I'm going to tell you right now, Geno on the hot seat, I do not think is an overreaction at this point in time. Personally, I don't think the Seahawks are going to make a change right now, but I do think that Geno's seat is as warm as it's ever been at this point in time, because when you look at yesterday's game, let's just say that if you were to play this out a different way, if you were to have a game manager under center in yesterday's game against the LA Rams, where you say, hey, you know what? It's your job not to go out there and overdo it, but just don't make mistakes. Don't cost this team. If you have a game manager, then you probably win the game against the LA Rams yesterday. Instead, Geno tried to do too much, and it ultimately hurt his team and cost this team a chance at victory. And so then when you start to dissect, all right, take things a step further here, if you make a change, if you were to go to Sam Howell, what you would be asking of Sam Howell is that you would say, hey, we're not going to ask you to throw the ball 34 times. We're not going to ask you to throw it 40 or 50 times. We just want you to manage the game and limit your mistakes and be a run-first football team and go from there. That's what you would ask of Sam Howell. And honestly, I think that's what they need to ask of Geno Smith, is to take a step back and to not ask him to do so much, to do less, because he can't be trusted to do too much, because he's not a franchise quarterback. That's how you end up in games like yesterday where he's throwing 3 interceptions. And so with that said, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, as you go into this bye week, I don't think they're going to make any changes, but I do think that the leash now on Geno Smith is as tight as ever. But you have to be very careful. And I've warned about this many times before. The old saying goes, if you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you have no starting quarterback. If you are going to make a change and go to Sam Howell, there's no turning back. You have to fully invest, fully commit to Sam Howell if you're going to make that change. So I don't think it's happening yet, but the room for error at this point in time with the Seahawks team that still has a shot to win this division, more on that coming up later, I think that the Seahawks are sitting here saying to themselves, we're going to roll with what we got for now, but Geno, you can't be doing this much longer. Otherwise, we're going to have to do something different. Who's the quarterback you would roll with at this point? Have you had enough with Geno? Would you like to turn things over to Sam Howell? Wait in the comment section. Let us know. Type GS for Geno Smith. Type SH for Sam Howell. Number 2 on Overreaction Monday, with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. Very important decisions to be made on Tuesday. Are the Seahawks going to be sellers all of a sudden? Is the season over where the Seahawks start to divest and try to get some return on some players and get some draft capital for the future? I think that is a bit of an overreaction. For the folks out there that are sitting here saying to themselves, the Seahawks need to sell, they need to get what they can, and need to reset this thing, they need to tank and all that. Here's the truth of the matter, folks. You have already gone too far to take any steps backwards at this point in time. With the trade you made for Ernest Jones and the other additions you made in recent weeks, even going as far back to bringing in Connor Williams before the season began, this Seahawks team, for better or for worse, invested in this season. They have said they are going all in on this year. Whether it bites them in the ass or not, that remains to be seen. But it's too late to take two steps backwards now. You cannot be sellers at this point in time. It's too late in the bowl game. And not to mention, with the 4 wins you have and the other teams that are out there in much worse shape than Seattle, if you were to, quote-unquote, tank at this point in time, you're not still going to be in a great position draft-wise anyway. You might as well, even under these circumstances, with as much as the Seahawks have struggled the last couple of weeks, still go guns a-blazing and go all in these next few weeks to see if you can be a playoff team or not. Some of the notable trade candidates, if the Seahawks are sellers. A lot of talk about DK Metcalf on the trade market. I don't think they're moving on from DK. I think that's highly unlikely at this point in time. Dre'Mont Jones, a name to watch potentially. I don't think he's back in Seattle next year. If you can get a team to take on that contract, specifically with his lack of production, that could be a possibility. Trevis Gipson, he has not been used at all since the Seahawks traded for him a couple of months ago. He's outside the rotation, but you're likely not going to get back what you paid for in that initial trade for Gipson a couple of months ago. Trey Brown came back from the injury, and we heard Mike McDonald say that they really like what they've seen from Josh Jobe, that they might roll with him, and Trey Brown might not be back next year anyway. So that could be an option potentially. And then Johnathan Hankins has not been good at all. The Seahawks were very excited about bringing him in, reuniting him with AD after previously coaching him with the Dallas Cowboys, but he hasn't been good at all. That could be an option potentially for Seattle to move on from. So with the deadline tomorrow, should the Seahawks be buyers or sellers at the deadline? Type B for buyers, S for sellers. Weigh in, let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Gametime. Gametime is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Gametime has got you covered. With Gametime, it's real simple, folks. You choose the event you want to go to, whether it's a Seattle Seahawks game, maybe you want to see the Kraken play, all sorts of stuff out there with Gametime. You choose the event you want to go to, you choose your seat, check out their seat views, get the visual with the 3D effect, and then you're checking out on Gametime with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. And you might stumble upon one of their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's a deal you don't want to pass up on. And, folks, we got a great offer that we have just for Seahawks Today viewers, folks. If you use the promo code ChatSports at checkout, we will give you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, first purchase only. $20 off with the promo code ChatSports. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. What time is it? Gametime. Check out Gametime today. You'll be glad you did. Next on Overreaction Monday, the offensive line is not fixable. That's what a lot of people are saying. Here we are 9 weeks into the season, and the offensive line doesn't look any better than it did to start the season after giving up 7 sacks in yesterday's loss to the Rams. And I don't think that's an overreaction. And I know that George Fant was limited in his first game back yesterday. We didn't see a ton of him. I would expect to see more of him in the coming weeks ahead. Abraham Lucas, we're hopeful, is going to make that return after the bye week to make his season debut. But there's only so much that those two can do to salvage what's left of this offensive line. Charles Cross has been great at the left tackle spot. He's played at arguably a Pro Bowl level this year, but everything else has been a concern. You look at the numbers from yesterday, and Charles Cross with a solid outing with a near 76 overall grade, a near 78 pass block grade, and a 70 run block grade. but everything else was just a mess. Connor Williams continued to have the snapping issues that he's dealt with the last couple of weeks, and we warned you on this program that that was an issue for Connor Williams when he was with the Miami Dolphins, and here we go again, folks. It's not gone away, that problem for Connor Williams at this point in time. But the other guys have just not stepped up at this point in time. Anthony Bradford has not been good. Christian Haynes wasn't even activated yesterday. Mike Jarrell, who the Seahawks were very optimistic about after that game against Atlanta, that he could potentially be the answer, replacing Stone Forsythe. He struggled yesterday with an overall grade of 42.1. I'm afraid it's going to get worse before it gets better for this offensive line. That is the reality for this group. They have some serious work to do on this offensive line this offseason, whether it's through the draft or trades or free agency. It is not looking good at all for the direction of this offensive line. Even with getting Lucas and Fant back, it does not look promising for where this group is going to go from here. And as the Seahawks continue to try to make a playoff push, it's going to be one thing that they just have to continue to work through. What is your confidence level in the Seahawks offensive line right now? How would you scale it for me, 1 through 10? My confidence level is at an all-time low, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going with about a 3, personally speaking. What's your confidence level? Get in that comment section and let us know. For the best Seahawks coverage you won't find anywhere else, you got to subscribe to Seahawks Today as we're bringing you our daily news and rumors. We'll be live for trade deadline day tomorrow, as well as our Wednesday live shows, so don't miss out on that. We also are live for every game day with our watch parties here on the channel. Breaking news, Q&A mailbags, it's all right here on Seattle Seahawks Today. If you're a diehard Seahawks fan, you got to be subscribed. We just passed 59,000 subscribers, but we're not stopping there. We're trying to get to 60 subs next. For the latest happenings on your favorite team all year long, subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Thank you for helping us reach 59,000 subscribers. It's certainly humbling, and I'm glad to have you guys here. Would love to have more of you on board here on the channel. Number 4. On Overreaction Monday, let's talk about the defense. And despite the loss yesterday, I felt like that the big positive was the defense, I think, showed improvement, that this defense is heading in the right direction. And I got to say, I love the creativity shown from this defense, where you saw guys like Ernest Jones at times just go ahead and shoot the gap. Saw an opening, took advantage of it. And we've seen this defense throughout the year be kind of hesitant and try to maybe stick to their assignments too much instead of playing with their instinct. And what I saw yesterday out of guys like Ernest Jones, comparatively speaking to what we've seen at other points in the season, was more of that instinct. Trust your gut. And I want to see more of that. And that's what kind of Ernest Jones is bringing to this defense, that flexibility in this sense. And they forced the Rams into some tough passing downs yesterday. And I know people are going to point to 26 points given up. Well, that's not really fair, considering that you had the pick 6 that Geno gave up. And if the Seahawks would have converted that 4th and 1 in overtime and scored a touchdown, then that would have been one less touchdown the Rams would have had anyway. So I thought the defense played good enough to win. It was the offense that set this team back yesterday. I mean, you hold this team, this Rams team, to 68 yards on the ground compared to what we've talked about previously with the run defense and the issues it's had. That should have been good enough to win. Matthew Stafford, time and time again, the Seahawks defense put him in tough situations on those third downs. That's what we've been wanting to see. Obviously, there's still some work to be done. I'd love to see some more turnovers created. Got to cut back on the penalties, especially in the secondary like we saw yesterday. But I think there was some promise from this group. And you had a few standouts. Ernest Jones, we mentioned, had a really good overall grade from PFF. Did everything well from run defense to tackling to coverage. Boye Mafe had a good day. Devon Witherspoon had a solid day. Coby Bryant as well at the safety spot had a solid day. There's reason to be optimistic about this group. If the Seahawks are going to make any type of run, this defense is going to have to carry this team. And I thought yesterday against a good Rams offense was a step in the right direction for this group. Are the Seahawks heading in the right direction defensively? I think so. What do you think? Type Y for yes, in for no. Get in the comment section and let us know. Last in Overreaction Monday. Are the Seahawks not a playoff team? After losing their second in a row, now having a losing record at 4-5, is the playoff race essentially over? Is the season over for the Seahawks? I believe that is an overreaction. Despite how bad things have gone the last couple of weeks, losing 3 straight home games, the lucky thing for Seattle is they play in the NFC West, which you look at the division standings right now, it is for the taking at this point. The Cardinals lead the division at 4-4. The Rams, who I feel like the Seahawks were the better team despite the loss, they're sitting there at 4-4, tied with the Niners for third place. Seattle at 4-5. But even with that said, even with the Seahawks still within striking distance in the division here, they are going to be tested in the coming weeks ahead. And they're going to have to potentially steal some games, win games they're not supposed to, like when they play the Niners coming off the bye in San Francisco. Arizona won't be easy with those 2 matchups. The Jets are starting to play some better football as of late, and the Packers look like they could be one of the best teams in the NFC, potentially speaking, and you got them on Sunday Night Football in mid-December. So with that said, yes, you still can make the playoffs. Yes, you can still win the division at this point, but once you come off that bye week, this team is going to have to do some soul searching. It is going to have to be a real wake-up call for this team to get back in contention and be a serious threat. Are the Seahawks a playoff team? Type P for playoffs. Type NP for no playoffs. Get your predictions in now and let us know. Appreciate you joining us here on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. You can follow me on X at Tyler Jones Live for continuing Seahawks coverage. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time.